My wife demanded 7 marriage rules. So I made just one rule that shut it down, and now she is begging for a second chance. Hey everyone! Before we jump into today's video, I need your help. We've noticed the channel is losing some traction, and subscribing is one of the best ways you can support us. It's quick, free, and it helps us keep bringing you awesome content. Your support means the world. Let's keep this channel growing together. Thanks so much. Now let's start the video. Hey Reddit, I, 34 male, and I need to share what just happened in my marriage because I'm still processing it all. First, let me paint you a picture. I'm a construction project manager making about $95,000 a year. Not rich, but comfortable. My wife Sarah, 32 female, was a dental hygienist when we met, making around $40,000. We have a daughter, Emma, 8 female, who's the light of my life. When Sarah and I got married 9 years ago, she was this incredibly grounded person. She'd bring lunch to work every day, shop sales religiously, and we'd have date nights at this little Mexican place where we'd split fajitas, and she'd always say water's fine when the server asked about drinks. I fell in love with her because she wasn't materialistic. She drove a 12-year-old Civic and was proud of how well she maintained it. We bought a modest 3-bedroom house in a decent neighborhood. Nothing fancy, but it had a great backyard for Emma and good schools nearby. Life was good. We had game nights, backyard BBQs with neighbors, and Sarah would spend hours making Halloween costumes from scratch instead of buying them. She'd wake up early on Saturdays to hit garage sales, coming home triumphant with barely used kids' clothes and toys for Emma. I remember one Christmas when Emma was 5. Sarah spent 3 weeks making a dollhouse from scratch using YouTube tutorials and supplies from the craft store. It wasn't perfect, the windows were a bit crooked, and the paint job was amateur. But Emma loved it more than any store-bought toy. Sarah cried happy tears watching Emma play with it Christmas morning. Those were the days when happiness meant Sunday mornings making pancakes together, trips to the local park, and movie nights where we'd all pile on the couch with homemade popcorn. Sarah used to say that memories were worth more than money, and she lived by that philosophy. About 8 months ago, everything shifted. It started innocently enough. Sarah got invited to a baby shower at the Riverside Country Club through a friend of a friend. She almost didn't go. "Those aren't really my people," she'd said. But I encouraged her. Thought it would be nice for her to get out and meet new folks. She came home that night different. Not dramatically, just different. She spent the whole evening talking about the club, the women she'd met, their houses, their cars, their jewelry. "You should have seen the gift table, Jake. Some of those presents cost more than our monthly grocery budget." At first, I didn't think much of it. Everyone gets a little starry-eyed seeing how the other half lives. But then she got invited to a lunch with some of the women from the shower. Then a shopping trip. Then weekly tennis lessons. She'd never played tennis in her life. The Sarah who used to make our laundry detergent to save money was suddenly buying $50 face creams. The woman who'd taught Emma that we don't need things to be happy was now constantly pointing out everything we didn't have. The changes came in waves. First, it was just the products. Organic everything, name brand everything. Our grocery bill doubled. When I mentioned it, she said, "We've been poisoning ourselves with cheap food. Don't you want better for Emma?" Then came the clothes. Gone were the Target clearance rack finds. Suddenly, she needed Lululemon, Anthropologie, designer jeans. "I can't show up to lunch in Walmart clothes, Jake. These women are connected. They could help your career." My career was fine. I'd worked my way up from job site laborer to project manager through hard work and dedication. But suddenly, that wasn't enough. 3 months into her country club transformation, Sarah quit her job. Just came home one day and announced it. "I'm burnt out," she said. "Being a dental hygienist is beneath my potential. Madison says I should focus on networking, building our social capital." Madison, the name that would haunt our marriage. Madison Chambers, wife of a plastic surgeon who specialized in celebrity clients. Madison, who had never worked a day in her life, but somehow considered herself a life coach and wellness entrepreneur. "Sarah, we need your income," I pointed out. "The mortgage, Emma's college fund." "That's such small thinking," she interrupted. "Do you know what Madison's husband makes? $800,000 a year. We're playing in the minor leagues while everyone else is in the majors." "Everyone else? These are strangers you met 2 months ago." But the decision was made. She was done with menial labor and ready to elevate our lifestyle. I watched the woman who'd once been proud of her professional certifications dismiss her entire career as beneath her. Without her income, money got tighter, but somehow Sarah's spending increased. She joined the country club. Without telling me, I found out when the $5,000 initiation fee hit our credit card. She hired a personal trainer, enrolled in expensive cooking classes she never attended, and started getting weekly manicures, pedicures, facials, and hair treatments. Emma noticed the changes too. "Why doesn't Mommy pack my lunch anymore?" she asked one morning as I scrambled to make her sandwich. "Mommy's busy with important things," I said, trying to keep the bitterness out of my voice. More important than me? The question broke my heart because I didn't know how to answer it honestly without bad-mouthing her mother. Sarah's relationship with Emma had changed too. She used to be the Pinterest mom, always creating, crafting, playing. Now she was constantly on her phone, texting with her new squad, scrolling through Instagram, or watching YouTube videos about manifesting abundance and attracting wealth. Emma would ask her to play, and Sarah would wave her off. "Not now, sweetie. Mommy's working on something." And that something was apparently curating her personal brand and networking strategically, terms she'd picked up from Madison's toxic influence. One day, I sat down to pay bills and nearly had a heart attack. Our credit card statement was $8,000. In 1 month, I went through the charges line by line. $2,400 at Nordstrom, $850 at La Petite Spa, $600 for a wealth mindset intensive seminar, $400 monthly country club dues, $300 for a handbag at some boutique, $250 for a single dinner with the girls, $200 for Emma's birthday present, a designer dress Emma wore once and hated, and dozens of smaller charges that added up fast. When I confronted Sarah, she was defensive. "These are investments in our future. You have to spend money to make money." "What money are we making? You quit your job." "I'm building relationships. Do you know who Madison knows? Her connections could change our lives." "They're changing our lives, all right. We're going broke." She rolled her eyes. "This is why you'll always be middle class, Jake. You think too small." That stung. I'd worked construction since I was 18, put myself through night school to get my project management certification, and built a solid career. I was proud of what I'd achieved, but suddenly, being a hardworking, responsible provider wasn't enough. About 5 months into this nightmare, Sarah started mentioning someone named Derek. "Derek says we're not maximizing our assets. Derek thinks your 401k is underperforming. Derek has some amazing investment opportunities." "Who the hell is Derek?" I finally asked. "He's a financial advisor, very successful. Madison introduced us." Red flags everywhere. I did some digging and found out Derek's office was a WeWork space. His credentials were from some online certificate program, and his main investment strategy seemed to be cryptocurrency and forex trading, aka gambling. But Sarah was smitten with his promises of 10x returns and passive income streams. He drove a leased BMW and wore expensive suits, which apparently qualified him to advise us on our finances. Last Wednesday, I came home after a particularly rough day. We were dealing with OSHA violations on one of my sites. 2 workers had quit, and I'd been up since 4 a.m. I walk in expecting maybe a hug from my daughter and some leftover spaghetti. Instead, there's a laminated sheet on the kitchen counter. Emma's at the table doing homework, looking like she'd rather be anywhere else. The paper read, 7 new Henderson family rules, in some fancy font that probably cost money to print at FedEx office. Sarah's standing there in her new Lululemon outfit. I'd seen the receipt, $280 for a single outfit, arms crossed like she's ready for war. "What's this?" I asked, though I had a sinking feeling I already knew. "Daddy, Mommy says you have to follow the rules now," Emma piped up quietly. She looked uncomfortable, like she'd already gotten an earful about this. "Emma, go to your room," Sarah snapped. "This is adult conversation." "But my homework." "Take it upstairs." "Now?" I watched my daughter gather her books and scurry away. The way Sarah had been speaking to Emma lately, sharp, dismissive, impatient, made my chest tight with anger. "We need to talk about structural changes," Sarah announced once Emma was gone. "Our household lacks proper management systems." "Management systems? This is our family, not a corporation." She thrust the laminated sheet at me. "Read it. Madison helped me design a framework for success." I read the rules, each one more insane than the last. 1. All purchases over $45 require wife's approval. 2. GPS location must be shared at all times. 3. Weekly personal allowance of $200. Wife manages all other funds. 4. No overtime without written permission 72 hours in advance. 5. Social activities require pre-approval and full guest list. 6. All electronic passwords must be shared within 24 hours of change. Yeram. Weekend plans must be submitted for approval by Wednesday midnight. "This is a joke, right?" I said, looking up at her. "Do I look like I'm joking? Every successful household runs on systems. You think Madison's family got where they are by winging it? Madison's husband inherited his practice from his father, and he's a plastic surgeon who does boob jobs for Instagram models. Sarah's face contorted. At least he's ambitious. At least he provides properly for his family. I provide plenty. We live in a 3-bedroom ranch, Jake. Madison has a wine cellar. A wine cellar. You don't even drink wine. That's not the point. I took a deep breath, trying to stay calm. Sarah, these rules are insane. I'm the only one with income. Managing our household is my job, she interrupted. Do you have any idea how much work goes into maintaining our social position? What social position? We're middle-class people living in the suburbs. Exactly, she screamed. And I'm sick of it. Sick of being nobody. Sick of Target runs and coupon clipping and pretending that's enough. It was enough for 9 years. I was asleep for 9 years. Now I'm awake. I decided to test how serious she was. The next morning, I stopped for coffee on my way to work, a $4 purchase at the local shop I'd been going to for years. My phone immediately buzzed. Sarah, did you just spend money without approval? It's coffee, Sarah, $4. Rule 1 clearly states, I hung up. When I got home that night, she'd printed out a violation notice and taped it to the fridge. Strike 1, it said, like I was a baseball player about to be benched. That weekend, I told her I was taking Emma to the Science Museum. Did you submit the request by Wednesday midnight? She asked, not looking up from her phone. I don't need permission to take my daughter to a museum. Rule 7 states, the rule is bullcrap, Sarah. Emma appeared in the doorway, wearing her favorite dinosaur t-shirt and holding her little backpack. Are we still going to see the space exhibit, Daddy? Of course we are, sweetheart. Actually, Sarah interjected, you're not. No approval, no trip. Emma's face fell. But Mommy, Daddy promised. Then Daddy should have followed the rules. Go play in your room. I watched my daughter's eyes fill with tears as she trudged back upstairs. That's when something in me snapped. But I didn't explode. No, I started planning. While Sarah was at her Wednesday wealthy women wind down, I kid you not, that's what they called their day drinking sessions, I did some investigating. First, I went through our credit card statements properly. The damage was worse than I'd thought. $15,000 in credit card debt in just 4 months. Multiple cash advances. Charges at high-end restaurants when she was supposedly at networking events. A $3,000 charge at a jewelry store. Then I found something interesting. A second credit card I didn't know about. She'd opened it using our joint information but had statements sent to a paperless account. The balance? $12,000. But the real kicker was in our savings account. The $50,000 we'd scraped together for Emma's college fund? Down to $18,000. She'd been making transfers to cover her spending. I felt sick. This wasn't just overspending. This was financial infidelity. I decided to dig deeper into this Madison character. A little Facebook stalking revealed quite a bit. Madison Chambers, 36, married to Dr. Bradley Chambers for 12 years. No kids. By choice, her posts emphasized, usually accompanied by photos of designer handbags and exotic vacations. She ran a lifestyle coaching business that seemed to consist entirely of Instagram posts about abundance mindset and manifesting wealth. Her client testimonials were all from other country club wives. The business model seemed to be rich women convincing less rich women to spend money they didn't have to appear rich. But then I found something interesting. A news article from 2 years ago. Local doctor sued for malpractice. Dr. Chambers had botched several surgeries. The lawsuits were settled out of court, but the damage to his reputation was significant. Their wealth was likely more precarious than it appeared. Derek, the financial advisor, was even more interesting. Real name, Derek Kozlowski. History of failed businesses, including a crypto consulting firm that folded after numerous complaints. He'd been sued twice for fraud, but settled both cases. His current wealth management company was registered to a P.O. box. The Maserati he drove? Leased? His office? A shared workspace he rented by the day when meeting clients. I compiled all this information into a folder. I wasn't ready to confront Sarah yet, but I wanted ammunition when the time came. Through some careful social media investigation, I found out I wasn't the only husband dealing with this crap. The country club wives had created a whole ecosystem of manipulation. There was Tom, married to Brittany, who'd been forced to cash out his 401k to buy her a Range Rover. Mike, whose wife Lauren had convinced him to take out a second mortgage for a can't-miss investment opportunity. Spoiler, they missed. And at least 3 other guys dealing with similar rule systems. I reached out to Tom through LinkedIn, pretending I needed construction advice. We met for coffee, and within 10 minutes, we were comparing notes on our wives' insanity. It's like they're in a cult. Tom said. Brittany used to be normal. Now she's obsessed with leveling up and boss babe life. She hasn't cooked dinner in months but somehow spent $4,000 on a purse last week. We started a group text with the other husbands. Turns out we were all dealing with variations of the same playbook. Rules, control, financial manipulation, and this mysterious Derek character promising massive returns. While all this was happening, my daughter was suffering. Sarah's neglect had become emotional abuse. Emma would come home from school excited to share her day, and Sarah would barely look up from her phone. Not now, Emma. Mommy's busy. When Emma's art teacher sent home a note saying she'd won a contest, Sarah's response was, "That's nice, honey," while texting furiously about some drama in the wives' group chat. Emma had started acting out at school. Nothing major, just seeking attention she wasn't getting at home. Her teacher called, concerned about the change in behavior. She keeps asking if she's being too expensive, the teacher told me. She refused to go on the field trip because she said her mom would be mad about the cost. This isn't like Emma at all. That night, I found Emma counting the coins in her piggy bank. "What are you doing, sweetheart?" "Saving money so mommy won't be mad," she said matter-of-factly. "If I pay for my own stuff, maybe she'll play with me again." My 8-year-old was trying to solve our family's financial problems. That's when I knew something had to change dramatically. Everything came to a head the following Thursday. Sarah had been particularly aggressive about the rules, adding new amendments daily. Rule 1.5. All grocery purchases require photographic evidence of receipts. Rule 3.5. Personal allowance can be revoked for attitude violations. Rule 5.5. Work friends are not pre-approved for social activities. She'd also been hinting about bigger changes coming. "Derek and Madison have been working on a wealth acceleration plan for us," she'd say cryptically. That night, she sat me down for a family financial summit. Her words. "We need to talk about Jason," she announced. "Who's Jason?" "I thought your financial guru was Derek." Derek introduced me to Jason. "He's a cryptocurrency specialist. He has an opportunity that could change our lives." She pulled out a slick-looking folder full of charts and graphs showing exponential growth curves. It was obviously bullshit. The kind of thing you'd see in a pyramid scheme pitch. "Jason says if we invest $100,000 now, we could see returns of 500% within 6 months. Invest $100,000? We don't have $100,000. We have your 401k. I stared at her. "Absolutely not. Don't be so closed-minded. Madison's already invested. So has Brittany. They're going to be millionaires while we're still shopping sales. Sarah, this is a scam. No legitimate investment promises 500% returns in 6 months." Her face went red. "This is why we're stuck in mediocrity. You have no vision, no ambition. I have common sense. Rule 6 states that financial decisions, screw your rules." That's when I pulled out my own laminated sheet. I'd had it made at the same FedEx where she'd done hers. It had one rule. All family rules apply equally to both spouses. No exceptions. She laughed, but it was nervous laughter. "That's not how this works." "It's exactly how this works. Starting now, every rule you created applies to you too. Want my location? I get yours. Want to approve my purchases? I approve yours. Want my passwords? Hand over your phone." That's ridiculous." "Really? Because I've got some interesting charges here I'd like to discuss. Like the $500 dinner at Le Bernardin last Tuesday when you were supposedly at book club." Her face went pale. "How did you—" "Rule 6, honey. Password sharing. Your email is very enlightening." I pulled out my investigation folder. "Let's talk about Derek Kozlowski, recently investigated for fraud, or Madison Chambers, whose husband is drowning in malpractice lawsuits, or this Jason character who doesn't seem to exist in any legitimate financial databases." Her phone started buzzing frantically. The wives' group chat was exploding. Apparently, several husbands had received similar investment pitches and were comparing notes. What happened next was like watching dominoes fall. Tom's wife Brittany had been having an affair with Derek. Mike's wife Lauren had given Jason $50,000 of their retirement savings, and he'd disappeared. Madison's husband had discovered she'd been funneling money to support her mother's gambling addiction while pretending to be wealthy. The carefully constructed illusion of the Wealthy Wives Club was crumbling. These women weren't rich. They were desperately trying to appear rich, dragging their families into debt and destruction in the process. Sarah's phone wouldn't stop pinging. I caught glimpses of the messages. "Emergency meeting now. Did your husband find out about Jason?" Derek's not answering. Madison's husband filed for divorce. Sarah was in full panic mode. "This is your fault," she screamed. "You've ruined everything." "I've ruined everything?" You've stolen our daughter's college fund. You've buried us in debt. You've emotionally abandoned our child. I was trying to build us a better life. No, you were trying to build yourself a fantasy life, and you were willing to destroy our real life to do it. Emma appeared in the doorway, tears streaming down her face. Why are you yelling? Sarah barely glanced at her. Go away, Emma. Mommy's dealing with something important. I am important, Emma cried. I'm your daughter, but you only care about your mean friends and your stupid rules. Don't speak to me that way. Why not? You never speak to me at all anymore. The raw pain in Emma's voice seemed to finally penetrate Sarah's bubble. For a moment, I saw a flicker of the woman I'd married, but it was gone instantly, replaced by defensive anger. This is all your father's fault, she told Emma. He's ruining our chances at a better life. I don't want a better life, Emma sobbed. I want my mommy back, the one who played with me and made cookies and didn't think I was too expensive. That night, Sarah packed a bag and went to stay with Madison. But that lasted exactly one day. Madison's husband had kicked her out and frozen their accounts. Sarah ended up at her sister's apartment, calling me every hour, alternating between threats and pleas. I took the next day off work and met with a divorce attorney. The evidence of financial infidelity was overwhelming. The credit cards in her name only, the drained savings, the secret investment schemes. It painted a clear picture. The attorney was blunt. She's destroyed your financial stability, and there's evidence of emotional neglect toward your child. You have a strong case for primary custody and minimal alimony. I also filed fraud alerts with our banks and credit card companies. Too late to recover what was lost, but at least it would prevent further damage. Sarah tried to fight the divorce at first. She hired an attorney, with what money, I don't know, and demanded alimony, the house, and shared custody of Emma. Her attorney dropped her 2 weeks later when the retainer check bounced. She tried representing herself, which went about as well as you'd expect, when the judge saw the financial records. Particularly the part where she drained Emma's college fund for luxury purchases, he was visibly disgusted. Mrs. Henderson, he said, you've demonstrated a pattern of financial irresponsibility and parental neglect that I find deeply concerning. Sarah tried to explain about investing in our future and building social capital, but the judge wasn't having it. The final judgment, I got primary custody of Emma. Sarah got supervised visitation, minimal alimony for 6 months. She was responsible for the debts she'd incurred in her name. The fallout in Sarah's social circle was spectacular. Within a month, Madison's husband divorced her and moved to Florida with their assets. Brittany's affair with Derek made the local gossip blogs. Lauren was being sued by her husband for financial fraud. 3 other marriages imploded. Derek disappeared, probably fled the state. Jason was revealed to be Derek's cousin and was arrested for running a Ponzi scheme. The country club itself revoked several memberships for non-payment. The Wealthy Women Wind Down was permanently canceled after a particularly dramatic confrontation in the club restaurant involving 2 of the wives and a thrown glass of Chardonnay. After the divorce, Sarah's carefully constructed new identity evaporated. She couldn't afford the country club lifestyle without my income. Her friends abandoned her once she couldn't keep up with their spending. She moved back in with her sister initially, but that relationship strained quickly. Sarah had become accustomed to not working, to spa days and shopping trips. Her sister, a nurse working 12-hour shifts, had no patience for Sarah's new attitude. Within 3 months, Sarah was working at a dental office again. Not as a hygienist, but as a receptionist. She'd let her certifications lapse and couldn't afford the courses to renew them. I'd occasionally see her around town. The designer clothes were gone, replaced by department store basics. The luxury car she'd leased had been repossessed. She drove a 15-year-old Toyota now. 6 months after the divorce, the calls started. Jake, please, I can't make rent this month. That's not my problem anymore, Sarah. I'm Emma's mother. Do you want her to know her mom is homeless? You should have thought about that before you stole her college fund. The manipulation attempts were constant. I've changed. I see what's really important now. Emma needs her mother. I was influenced by toxic people. I never stopped loving you. But actions have consequences. The woman who'd sneered at our mediocre life was now begging for help to maintain a studio apartment. The real victory in all this was Emma's transformation. With Sarah's toxic influence gone, she blossomed. Her grades improved. She rejoined art club and dance class. She stopped asking if she was too expensive. She smiled more, laughed more, played more. We went to therapy together to work through the abandonment issues. The therapist was wonderful, helping Emma understand that her mother's behavior wasn't her fault. Some people get confused about what's important, the therapist explained in kid-friendly terms. Your mom got confused and thought things were more important than people. That's not your fault. Emma nodded sagely. She thought being fancy was better than being happy. That's exactly right. And how do you feel about that? I think being happy is better. Daddy and I aren't fancy, but we have fun. Update 1 year later. A full year after that fateful night with the laminated rules, life had settled into a new normal. Emma and I had our routines. Saturday morning pancakes, Sunday afternoon bike rides, Wednesday night pizza and board games. I'd gotten a promotion at work. Ironically, one that might not have happened if I'd been following Sarah's rules about no overtime. We'd moved to a slightly bigger house with a better school district for Emma. Nothing fancy. Sarah would have called it embarrassingly middle class. But it was ours, and we were happy. Sarah's texts had become less frequent, but more desperate. She'd lost another job for suspected theft. Old habits die hard. Her sister had kicked her out. She was living in a weekly motel, working part-time at a grocery store. Please, her latest message read. I have nothing. I've lost everything. I just need enough to get back on my feet. I didn't respond. She'd had everything. A loving husband, a beautiful daughter, a comfortable life, and thrown it away for an illusion. Last month, Emma and I ran into Sarah at the mall. We were shopping for Emma's birthday. She wanted new art supplies and a science kit. Simple stuff, but she was so excited. Sarah looked rough, worn down. The designer makeup was gone, revealing tired eyes and stress lines. She was wearing ill-fitting clothes from the clearance rack. Emma, she called out, her face lighting up. Oh my God, you've gotten so big. Emma pressed closer to me but responded politely. Hi, Mom. Can I hug you? Emma looked up at me. I nodded. If you want to, sweetheart. She gave Sarah a quick, awkward hug. Sarah held on too long, too tight. I miss you so much, Sarah said, tears in her eyes. Do you miss Mommy? Emma considered this with the brutal honesty of a 9-year-old. I miss the old Mommy, the one who made cookies and played games. Sarah's face crumpled. I could be that Mommy again. I've changed. Haven't I, Jake? Tell her I've changed. I stayed silent. This wasn't my story to tell. Are you happy? Sarah asked Emma desperately. Yes, Emma said simply. Daddy and I have fun. We're not rich, but we're happy. But you could have so much more. I don't want more, Emma interrupted. I just wanted a mom who loved me more than fancy things. The words hit Sarah like physical blows. She stood there, in the middle of the mall, finally understanding what she'd lost. As we walked away, I heard her sobbing. Not the manipulative tears she'd perfected during our marriage, but genuine, broken-hearted weeping. Emma looked up at me. Did I say something wrong? No, sweetheart. You told the truth. Sometimes the truth hurts, but it's important. She nodded thoughtfully. I hope she finds her way back to being nice. But what? But I'm glad we're okay without her. Is that bad? No, baby. That's not bad at all. That's healthy. Final update. It's been 18 months now since that night with the 7 rules. Sarah still occasionally texts, especially around holidays or Emma's birthday. Always asking for money. Always promising she's changed. Always blaming everyone but herself. The Country Club Wives Club is extinct. Most are divorced, working regular jobs, living regular lives. Madison moved back to her hometown in defeat. Brittany's working as a receptionist. Lauren's living with her parents. The husbands? We still have our group chat. It's become a support group of sorts. We share custody tips, single dad hacks, and the occasional horror story about our ex's latest schemes. Emma's thriving. She's in advanced art classes, excelling in school, and has a great group of friends. She sees Sarah once a month for supervised visits, which usually end with Sarah making promises she can't keep and Emma politely nodding. Last week, Emma said something that summed it all up perfectly. Dad, remember when Mom tried to make all those rules? Yeah, I remember. And you made that one rule that fixed everything? What rule was that, sweetheart? That rules should be fair for everyone. That was smart. Thanks, baby. I think the most important rule is just be nice to people and don't spend money you don't have. From the mouths of babes. Sarah wanted 7 rules to control our lives. I gave her one that revealed the truth. Control only works when it's one-sided. The moment it becomes mutual, it shows itself for what it really is. Manipulation, not management. But maybe Emma's right. Maybe the only rules we really need are simpler. Be kind. Live within your means. Value people over things. Love your family more than your image. Sarah forgot those rules, and it cost her everything. Emma and I remember them every day, and we have everything that matters. Funny how that works out.